Welcome everybody to this live. We're gonna analyze a game today. It's not playing game, but we're gonna analyze. It's a game that has been sent by Chen CDC, the French player, and he's against HFTLS, supposed Chinese player. So it's rare, but it's a random draft game. So both players have random units. We have, however, a pretty balanced draft because we have a pretty powerful combo with War Priest and Captain for Chinese player, and we have pretty strong units in the cavalry and crossbowman for Chen. So it's pretty balanced. You have two strong combos with Insane Footman and War Priest and Captain, and you have pretty good units there. Two good units and two weaker units, but still are good. Archer and Swansman particularly is very good. Um, so what happened? Or I'm not gonna spoil you. So okay, I won't say what happened. I had a quick summary by Chen. I didn't watch the game yet. It's the first time I'm gonna see it. So let's go. Gonna start that. We have pretty good first hands. You like to have double the tokens in the first hand, so you know that you can deploy it, and then you won't block the point where you deployed it. However, the captain you like to deploy it at the end, maybe. So I don't know. It's okay to deploy it at the beginning of the first pack, but okay, it's two good first hands. So we have okay cavalry, and its Chinese player responds with the captain. I'm not gonna call him a Chinese player, but H. Okay, it's gonna be better, I think. Um. So okay, captain against cavalry. Of course, there's not gonna be only captain because it won't be. It's impossible to respond to cavalry with using captain only. So it might be either a footman or a priest against cavalry. We'll see that later. Cavalry, of course, moves. Captain moves. That's interesting because generally I'd rather move my captain here because he can be used on both sides. But if he wants to go with a well priest and captain, it might be effectively more interesting to put it here because he's gonna be able to rush uh, easily with the war priest after that. So let's see the swordsman, the footman. Okay, we have the crossbowman against the war priest. It can be very powerful. So okay, apparently H wants to counter cavalry using captain and footman. You might want to bolster footman because it's a bit risky in this way. And then I didn't see, but yeah, okay. So again, he responds to crossbowman using war priest. It's a pretty risky move. I don't know if it works. I'd say it don't work, but maybe it works. I never tried. Okay, so then crossbowman moves, etc. And he deploys. Okay, so he deploys every unit here. That's okay. That's okay. He can move the footman after that directly on the spot, so that's good for him. And but then the war priest is alone here. However, as we see, Chen recruits cavalry, so if H recruits a lot of war priest, he might be able to counter crossbowman and archer. But we'll see that. Okay, he recruits war priest. That's normal. He so then he bolsters the insane. Okay, because yeah, okay, because I see the thing is that if he but it's the same risk. I don't see what's going on here because if he moves the footman here, then the cavalry will come here and then attack, etc. Because Chen has a lot of cavalry. But however, if he stays here, it's the same thing. So I'd say it might be more interesting to go here and wait. You can bolster the ensign after that. But if you can just take this point, it's just a good thing for you. So okay, that's a choice. So Chen also recruits crossbowmen. So we see that here H bolsters, so it means he wants to play tiny bag, and Chen is on a more heavier bag with 8 units. It's still okay. 8 units is still okay, but still, it can be sometimes. If you want to recruit another thing, it's a bit too much, I think. So let's go. He moves the cavalry, of course. Recruits again. That's a pretty big bag. Okay, but okay. He bolsters the footman in response so that when the cavalry attack, he can always respond with the captain. That's a pretty good move. Didn't see that coming, but yeah, the captain is still here to defend this point. So yeah, pretty good, pretty good. And here, yeah, you just have to avoid the crossbowman, so that's okay. Okay, so the crossbowman is pretty aggressive. I don't think it's the solution here because you have a bolstered wire priest in front of you. You don't want it to rush you and then 1 versus 2 tokens, you lose. So I'd have maybe put a tempo here and just bolster my crossbowman. Oh, sorry, I took but he bolstered the wire priest after that. So okay, I thought it was already bolstered, but okay. It makes sense to have an aggressive crossbowman because you see that your opponent is trying to calm the game down. So you see that it's at his advantage if the game lasts. So you want it to be as short as possible, and you have the unit for that because cavalry is very good in the beginning of the game. So that's cool. That's normal. And then, of course, that's also normal from H. He wants to protect his war priest and be able to take the the points calmly. From here, I'd say the plan for Chen would be to bolster here and here, so that he has a tiny bag, or at least not a tiny bag, but a little bag like his opponents. I say that, but I'm a big fan of tiny bags, so I have really great difficulties to play with a big bag, so I have a tendency to reduce my bag as tiny as possible. But I think still here it's the more efficient to bolster here and here because you're not gonna use this archer or this swordsman at this time of the game. Let's see what happens. Of course, in front of that, you have pretty much no choice for H. He's gonna just rush with the Wild Priest. However, it might be a bit difficult because here you're being defended by the cavalry and the crossbowmen. Again, both are not bolstered, so pretty tough. But if you are two, it's easier. Here, you are attacked by the crossbowmen and you cannot attack to cancel the attack, so it's pretty tough too. So let's see where they move, what they do. So Chen moves the archer. The archer covers all of these, oh, tail of, I don't remember the name in English, but okay, covers tiles. That's it. Covers all of these tiles. So nothing for the moment. It's not really interesting. It might be interesting when you move it there, but it's a bit too late because you have only one archer. When you move it, the warrior priest has the time to go here, there, here, attack here, and then you cannot do anything. You have only one archer, in front of two war priests in the opponent's hand. It's I think it's not possible to hope to do something with this archer. That's why I would have posted it. I would have posted more the archer than the swordsman because the swordsman can eventually rush there and do something, but the archer is just gonna be rushed by the war priest pretty easily, I think. Okay, so in front of that you have all three units bolstered. I thought that he would have keep a captain in hand to defend this point, but okay. Because here all Chen needs is like this, and this. These three are in his side, so it's okay. Uh, and this one is not defended, so it's okay too. In theory, because it's not gonna be simple to rush this with the war priest so present in the opponent's hand. So let's see. The plan is here is theoretically to take this and this and to rush this before he can recruit. But that's also the thing is that in front of him he has a very tiny bag. So as soon as the opponent recruits, like a footman for example, he has the footman in hand at the next turn. So it's pretty tough. And the initiative is to Chen 2. That's not in his favor, so okay. We are already at the middle of the game and no point has been taken. I don't know if that's maybe a forfeit. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so he bolsters the swordman. As I said, I would have bolstered the archer and made this one man go front, but anyway. And maybe, yeah, that's not a choice from Chen because he had it in first hand, so he couldn't know. But the swordsman might have been more efficient countering the war priest than the archer. But that's okay. That's normal. It's this kind of third and fourth unit that you just deploy because you don't want them in hand. It sometimes it happens that you didn't have deployed them in the good side, so that's too bad. But I know I've never tried just keeping them in hand until I can deploy them on a side that I know they will that they on a side that when where I know I would use them. Sorry, my English is not so bad normally, but I sometimes struggle. So okay. So yeah, I've never tried this tactic of keeping the third and fourth unit in hand until I can deploy them on a good point, uh, because I think it's a pretty tough to have a non-used unit in hand. But it might work, because even a third unit or fourth unit that you don't really use, even with one token, if well placed, it can be very useful and just put pressure and yeah, threatening your opponent with this one unit. But however, you lose in early game because you have too many tokens in hand. So that's a risk to take. I might try that a day. So the initiative is taken. Clearly, he wants to rush there and kill the crossbowman. Oh, there. That's risky. Okay, no, that's not risky because if he takes down the cross. Oh, I'm stupid. If he takes down the crossbowman, then he controls the point. Then because he takes down the crossbowman by discarding war priest. But as he attacked, he's just pushing off. He's just getting his war priest back in hand, so he can control the point. So he gets the war priest back in hand, so he can move. That's pretty good. Okay, he does it the other way, but same thing. And then he moves towards the cavalry. Okay, the cavalry attacks, of course. Repressed attacks in response and move. Okay, and since the swordman is bolstered, it's pretty tough to defend that. But then, and you know, you cannot you can deploy here. Just you have still 5 tokens in hand in a bag, so to cycle after recruiting swordsman is gonna take time. That's tough. That's tough. You can still recruit crossbowman, go there, and you're threatening him, but that's tough. Okay, so I thought that H would go more this way and just get this point before going. He might have done that, you know, instead of taking initiative, he could have gone there and then take the initiative on another time. However, yeah, said nothing after nothing. So yeah, okay, he's gone this way. 3 points, 4 soon, and 5, 6 maybe. So of course, yes, then deploys here. It's too late to defend, but it's better to do that than nothing. Of course, H passes. So here, it's not a bad move from Chen because he's defending this, and this. Well, this is not important. This tile is not important. But if he had went there, H would have just controlled and gone. And here he is gonna control and go. But the crossbowman is near him, while he was a bit. Well, if he was there, he was going to be more far from him. Of course, controls. And what does he have in hand? Of course, our priest. He goes there. Poster the archer. So okay, you know this move was not useful, but okay, it was a tentative, of course. You couldn't know, and I wasn't expecting anyway that the war priest was going this way. I thought too that he was going to attack here after taking this point, but just taking this one and going all the way to the other side of the board. And what's pretty strong here is that once the war priest has taken this point, you just have to recruit a footman, and in 2 turns you go there, you control, and it's okay. Because you recruit one, it's already in hand next turn, so it's very strong, very strong. I love these tiny bags, and I love it even better when there is a warrior team, of course. So here, why does he pass before moving the warrior here? Because Chen could have had a crossbowman and went there, so it was pretty risky to go there with the warrior priest. He wants to see if Chen has a crossbowman in hand. Of course, okay, he recruits another one. You want to deploy your cavalry because it's of no use now. Because that's the thing, the tough thing, the really tough thing is that you cannot rush a point to postpone the game, to make it longer, because it's too far. You have to do 1, 2, 3 moves with your crossbowman, and you have a bag. It's not a big bag, it's like 6, 7 tokens. It's not a big bag, but it's so big compared to the 3 tokens in front of you. And you know, to cycle 3 crossbowmen, you'll have to wait long time while he just take control and go and go. And yeah, really tough. And that's a really quick Moab priest. That's incredibly quick. It's insane. Yeah, you have the same hand, and okay, it's okay. I have no words. It's I love playing Warpers Tiny Bags, but I've never went to this extremity where you have only 2 Warpers and the Royal Cone in hand and in bag. I've never bothered to do my 3 units. but that's whoa. Because one would say that, and that's what I said to Chen before seeing the game, that you know this War Priest is yeah, it's strong. War Priest is strong, but still it's a one unit. So why don't you go the other side and take the point on the other side? And so many arguments against that because firstly, you can take this point. Just imagine. Let's imagine you take this point. The War Priest will be so quick to take the your points because if he's at the contact, he attacks. He gets another War Priest. He attacks again. He gets a War Priest. He moves, and that's incredibly. It's incredible. It's like the Swordsman, but in three times better because you can kill. You could kill this cavalry and this archer, and then go there in one on the point in one turn. Imagine, like attack, 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 and move in one turn without even the captain. That's OP. So yeah, what I was saying is that even if you take this control point and the war priest is only on this side, it's going to be so quick to get all your points because before you can go on one opponent's point. Plus you have these three bolster units that defend this point, so it's not possible to take it. Plus another argument would be that it's okay, it's only one unit, it's on one side of the board, and okay, you can go the other side, and it's a war for each side. But as we saw, the the war priest just did his way all through that in like 5 turns. Yeah, 5 turns approximately. All his way. He just ran through the boys, through the board, like like it was nothing. Even like we've gone like one, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns. So he's quicker than like cavalry. This war priest. That's amazing to say. So okay, of course I've always like I've always thought that war priest was a good unit because I love tiny bags and it goes perfectly well with tiny bags. But it was like in B tier in my tier list, like it was a good unit, but like a second or third pick unit in function of the draft. Uh, Clearly, seeing that it's first pick. It goes with the first pick. It's not weaker than the crossbowman. It's weaker than the berserk. Of course, yeah. If you see a game berserk against the war priest is dead. Of course, there's no need to say that, but I want to precise it there. However, so yeah. And you know what? Yeah. So that's basically what I remind from the I will learn from this game is that War Priest is topo uno, is drafto uno, and my opinion this just proves that the War Priest is OP. However, as I said, there are still counters to it, like Berserk. Some would say Pikeman, and Pikeman is a counter to War Priest, but however, I like when I play War Priest against Pikeman. I think it's still at the advantage of the War Priest player. However, with the Pikeman, you'll get rid of the War Priest and you can start a new game with the new units after that. So it's still a counter. What else can be a counter? Technically, cavalry is a counter, a little counter, because once the War Priest is bolstered, it's no more a counter, but it's still threatening with the cavalry. And what else can be a counter? Well, Bannerman, of course, yeah, Bannerman. Bannerman counters every unit approximately, so Bannerman. And what else? Railguard. It's not an obstacle anymore. Like I said, you can attack him as many times as you want. So in one turn, Railguard is defeated by the War Priest. So maybe I'd say maybe light cavalry, because as we saw at the beginning of the game, it was a bit of a, H had to bolster all this, and he wasn't ready yet to go with the War Priest. So if you go beginning of the game with all of these cavalry there and there and there. If we talk about extension, maybe masonry with Endless Decree can go move attack the War Priest, and that's a good thing too. The thing is that in this case you'll have to attack the War Priest before you'll have to attack the War Priest while there is still another unit in hand, because when you have this hand forever, I think it's pretty much done. Maybe you could go with the initiative move and try to reduce the number of War Priests, but that's tough. That's pretty much tough, yeah. That's all I had to say about this game, so I hope it opened your eyes about the War Priest as it did to me, because yeah, as I said, it went from a second, third pick to first pick for me, depending on the draft, of course, because against the Berserker, it cannot do a lot of things. But if there is no Berserker in front of you, War Priest is a pretty strong pick, pretty strong draft. So yeah, I'll let you on these words. Bye then.